Okay, hello everyone, how are you? I hope you guys are fine. In this occasion, we are going to learn about the profiling child, ESL or English as second language acquisition, practical and methodological issues. The introduction, this study focuses on ESL data from an immersion elementary school in Germany, which are analyzed within the framework of processability theory or PT and subsequently compared to PT data from naturalistic second language acquisition. So here, immersion programs have been claimed to be the most effective educational programs for the acquisition of a second language. The immersion method has been called the most successful educational program for second language acquisition in schools. The study, the immersion project. The elementary school incorporates a partial immersion program, bilingual classes from grades 1 until grades 4, mainly composed of monolingual German children from a middle class background are taught in English in all content matter except for German language arts. The developmental stages suggested by PT are used to evaluate the effectiveness of language acquisition in an IM educational program. So only after having established the coding criteria for the analysis can the result be compared to naturalistic second language acquisition. So the focus problem here is, are the results of second language acquisition in an immersion school as indicated by the PT stages comparable to results achieved by learners from a naturalistic learning context? The structures, the classification of linguistic structure into 6 developmental stages of ESL identified by PT. Like the example, Table 1. So verbal inflections are likely candidates since they appear in almost every clause of the narration. So this table gives an overview of the syntactic and morphological structures coded for analysis. Irregular past was classified together with regular past and EL, or in the language. In stage 2, since the exchange of phrasal information is involved, the two auxiliary constructions not present, so were classified as stage 3 because of the unification of values between auxiliary and lexical verb, which is an instance of phrasal agreement. The target-like agreement of auxiliary and subject is not relevant here, otherwise the structure would have to be placed at stage 5, like the example, and the boy are looking to a tree. So this example consists of auxiliary plus ing and stage 3. Research in SLA has repeatedly shown that a learner's IL system is a system in its own right with its individual rules, which do not necessarily need to correspond to those of the target language, especially in the beginning stages of acquisition. Investigations into the distribution of linguistic features run the risk of confusing the emergence of interlanguage rules with random variation and chunks. The emergence criterion is a concept crucial for data analysis within the framework of PT for an analysis of learner language. PT proposes a methodological operation which is based on the criterion of the first emergence of morphosyntactic elements in the language produced by a learner. It has to be pointed out that the term function should refer solely to the grammatical function of a linguistic element as opposed to a conceptual or semantic function in a specific context. To give an illustration of this distinction, if the VS inflection is used by a learner in many different contexts, most of which do not refer to the grammatical function of third person, VS cannot be interpreted as having emerged in terms of a systematic use of the structure. The application of VS rather seems to be used randomly in the data. However, this example only relates to the substance of the grammatical function of third person, while the description of morphosyntactic forms seems to be a quite straightforward operation. The description of their various functions thus seems a somewhat more complicated matter. It is therefore necessary to carefully operationalize the criteria which lead to the conclusion that a structure has emerged in an interlanguage system with respect to the first systematic occurrence. The grammatical function. One can differentiate between a grammatical and a semantic function. Depends on Taron 1988 of the linguistic elements in the example of third person as the grammatical function would be interphrasal agreement, and the conceptual of semantic function relates the respective even within a temporal sequence. Thus, in the tense or aspect system of a language, it is the second, the semantic function, which comes into play. And then cancel inversion. In his characterization of cancel inversion, Hahnemann states that word order phenomena observed in direct questions do not apply in the context of indirect question. Like the example, I wonder whether or why or where he had lunch yesterday. Past tense marking. In Palotti's operational criteria for emergence, this is where the function of a morphological structure comes into play, illustrated above with the example of the third person as inflection, which requires the processing of interphrasal agreement. And then lexicosemantic marking. It has been suggested that verbal inflections in the early stages of the acquisition process tend not to encode the grammatical functions ascribed to them at all. The so-called aspect hypothesis, as formulated by Anderson and Shirai at 1995, complicates the form-function issue further by suggesting that in the beginning verbal inflections are used to encode the inherent semantic properties of the verbs they are attached to rather than grammatical function. And then the result in this discussion is the first one is language development. The result represents an implicational analysis of cross-sectional and longitudinal data of all four subjects. Some of the structures which occur late in development have not enough linguistic context, but since they had already been confirmed in previous stories of the child, as for example negative verb with child 7 that confirmed in year 3, they were assumed to still be part of the child's interlanguage system. And then the second is comparison with naturalistic child second language acquisition. After 4 years of input, more IM children have reached the final stage than the naturalistic learners. It becomes obvious from this comparison that IM is a very efficient program of language teaching which yields results comparable to those of naturalistic second language learners with respect to the emergence of linguistic teachers. And then the conclusion, the study has shown that PT is a powerful instrument of analysis which is applicable also to data corpora with elicitation methods outside the PT framework. The results showed that all stages predicted by PT could be confirmed in the second language narrations of German children learning English in an IM elementary school. These children's attainment level within the PT hierarchy is especially significant in comparison with second language learners who learned the language in a naturalistic context. The study shows that children from an IM elementary program are capable of reaching comparable levels of attainment in second language acquisition. So guys, okay, that's all we have learned. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy your day and have a great day.
I'm not just losing you, I'm losing what you saw in me.